Hello and welcome everyone, and thank you to Innovonics for the opportunity to present a little bit about selling intrusion into commercial applications. I'm Tom Meckler. I'm the Regional Marketing Manager for Bosch for North America for our intrusion and access control products. What we're going to talk about today is how you can sell intrusion systems into commercial applications and solve problems your customers might not be thinking about at this point, and certainly not be thinking that their intrusion system can solve those problems for them. We'll start out with a little bit of a product introduction, but quite honestly, we're not going to spend a lot of time on product. We're really going to talk about customer pain points, real world applications, and there'll be a little time after you watch the video for Q&A and a wrap up with some information that we'll send you later on. A little bit about the products, and Bosch has a wide range of products. We're just going to talk about a couple of our control panel families here today. One is our B series, and that's this control panel here. It's an intrusion control panel that there's 4 different models, and they go up to 96 points. And of course, we have our G series panels, which is our large commercial intrusion panel. They also support commercial fire and access control. And these panels will go on up to 599 points. The important thing to remember here is that both panels can integrate with Innovonics EchoStream Wireless. And this isn't a relay integration. This is a full integration right into the control panels. You see we have our EN kit SDI2 here. What that is a kit that marries an Innovonics receiver, the 4200 serial receiver, with our interface module and puts it on our bus. And when it does that, it becomes part of the system. So you can get diagnostics through your software, through your keypad. You can add devices through the keypad. You can add devices through your remote programming software. It really takes up to 350 EchoStream transmitters and makes them part of your Bosch intrusion system. It's really a great way to add wireless. And we're talking about commercial applications here. And quite honestly, you can't beat Innovonics for wireless in a commercial setting. So let's talk about selling intrusion in commercial applications. And when we think about commercial applications, of course, we can be talking about retail, offices, banking, education, whether it be K through 12 or college applications, government and military. And you may not realize this, but Bosch intrusion products are used in more than 1 billion commercial applications in the US. And they go across this range of different verticals. And you might look at these verticals and say, you know, they all seem a little different. You know, a bank's different than a school, and a government facility is different than a store. But they do have a lot of different things in common. So when you think about a commercial application, some of the things that they all have in common are multiple access points, lots of doors and windows, lots of ways that you need to protect, and they use those doors and windows differently, so you need to be flexible in the way you protect them. There's times when access is free to the public, where people can just walk in off the street into those facilities. There's customers, clients, patients, or students that are present. And I got to tell you, if I'm the loss prevention manager for one of these places, I'm more concerned about those people that are in my building than I am of maybe somebody coming in and stealing a laptop at night. There's times when no one should be there, and there's different levels of risk day and night. So if we put these similarities as, you know, as kind of a background to the things we're trying to protect in a commercial application, let's talk about some applications that we can solve with our intrusion system that aren't necessarily, hey, the burglar broke in, the sirens went off, and we called the police. Everybody can do that. We're going to show you how to do some different things that add value to your customers. One thing with all commercial applications, there are a lot of perimeter doors, and it's hard to monitor the status of all those doors. And one of the big problems with any commercial application, whether it be a school or a store or an office, is sometimes people leave those doors propped open. So I'm going out to my car, I want to have, you know, my lunch or go grab a cup of coffee or whatever, and I know I got to use my key to get back in the door. So I'm only going to be a minute or two, so I'm going to stick a brick or a stick or something in that door so I don't have to use the key when I get back. Well, that's a problem because if I forget that that brick or that sticks in the door, the perimeter of this facility is now unprotected and somebody can just walk in. And think about that as a business, that's a problem if somebody walks in your back door. Well, how many doors would you like to be propped open in your kid's school during the day and have people just wander in? That's a problem. Well, what Bosch panels can do is actually monitor the status of those doors even when the system is disarmed. Of course, you can add an Inovonics door window contact to that door. Somebody opens the door when the system's armed, you get an alarm or you get an entry delay just like you should. But in most burglar alarm systems, that contact's really not doing much during the day when the system is disarmed. But in a Bosch system, we can actually turn on a feature that we call monitor delay and delay response. And what it does is it monitors the door to make sure it hasn't been open too long. So someone can use the door, they can open the door, walk out, close the door behind them, no problem. But if they open the door and they leave it open or they prop it open with a stick, after some amount of time, we're going to send a local alert. We're going to make some noise at a keypad or activate a local sounder. And then if they don't react to that, the panel can send a supervisory report. So somebody comes and makes sure the door is closed. Because it seems like a simple thing, but it's really a high security issue when you have doors that are propped open in a commercial facility. And if you talk to your commercial customers, every one of them has had this problem and they're going to react to this. So use that feature with a Bosch panel, use the Inovonics door window contact on that door to detect that. It's a great solution. Another problem with perimeter doors, a lot of times in these facilities, they are emergency doors and they're fire exits, right? You don't use them very often. You only use them in the case of an emergency, but boy, they better be clear and able to be used when there is an emergency. Well, Bosch has the ability with our cameras to actually monitor the area in front of one of those doors to see if the area is clear or if it's been blocked. And you can see in this picture here, somebody's put a pallet of boxes in front of the emergency exit, and it ain't an emergency exit anymore because you can't get out of it. Well, we can use our video analytics to detect an object left behind in front of that door. It's been there too long and activate an alert. Why am I talking about video analytics in an intrusion presentation? Well, our IP cameras can be integrated with the Bosch panels. And when that alarm occurs, when that camera detects that something's been placed in front of the door, it can trigger an input point over a network. It can trigger an input point on that alarm panel. And now the panel can notify. It can send a report. It can make some noise. It can do something to get somebody to react to that situation to move that pallet of boxes. So now the emergency exit is an emergency exit again. That's two problems. One is, of course, if you have an emergency, people can't get out. Probably what's going to happen more often is your fire marshal is going to walk in and see that your emergency exits are blocked, and they're going to write you up a citation, and that's no fun when it comes out of your wallet. So either way, that's a real problem, and Bosch has a great solution for that. Protecting dock doors in a warehouse or the back door of, the overhead door in any facility where you're receiving shipments from trucks and whatever, that can be an issue if somebody leaves the door open too long. And you can imagine that if somebody leaves an overhead door open, and I live in Rochester, New York, and in the winter here it gets pretty cold, or if you're in part of the country that gets really hot in the summer, that's just money. You have, if you have a big hole in the side of your building and in the shape of your overhead door, you're pumping heating and ventilating and air conditioning right out that door and basically throwing money onto your dock. That's a problem. The other problem, of course, is safety. If you look at this picture here, there's no guardrails or anything in front of those doors. If one of those doors was open, someone accidentally backed out of one of those doors, they'd fall onto the dock and hurt themselves. That's bad. Bad guy could just come in. That's bad. All these things are bad if they leave the door open. Well, that monitor delay and delay response feature can be used to monitor one of these doors as well. So again, we take an Inovonics universal transmitter and we connect an overhead door contact. We transmit that signal to our alarm panel. And now we can monitor that to see if the door has been open too long. And the flexibility of this feature allows you to set how long you wait in order to activate the alert. So there's a man door there between door 71 and 72. Somebody leaves that door open for 3 or 4 minutes, I want to know, because that's a person that should never be open that long. But it takes longer than 3 or 4 minutes to empty that truck. So after 30 minutes, I want to report, or I want some noise locally, or maybe even after 45 minutes, I want to report if the door has been open too long. And this feature has the flexibility to support both applications within the same system at the same time. Another thing we think about in commercial applications has nothing to do with the burglar breaking in or a bad guy there, are other systems, critical systems that we'd like to monitor. Coolers, refrigeration, freezers, generators, those types of equipment can be monitored. And in this case, we have this EN1752 transmitter, which can connect to a low temperature monitor and measure the temperature of that freezer. If the freezer goes up above a certain point, it can send a signal that says, hey, the freezer's too warm. That's a problem. If you ever talk to anybody running a restaurant, running a grocery store, these coolers are monitored. And if the health department comes into your facility and they measure the temperature of your cooler and it's too warm, you got to throw away all that stuff. If that cooler goes above a certain temperature, all that material's got to go in the garbage. That could be thousands of dollars for a grocery store like this. So we monitor the temperature. We activate a point on the alarm panel. And remember, what's an alarm panel do best? It reports, it communicates. So now somebody comes and they react to that situation before they got to throw away all those fish sticks, right? Or those sweet potato fries or whatever in that freezer. And we can use that monitor delay or delay response feature to allow for temperature fluctuations. Somebody leaves the door of the freezer open for just a couple minutes and the temperature goes up, but they close the door and it goes back to where it's supposed to be. That's okay. Well, we can ignore that event unless the temperature has gone above a certain amount and stayed there. That's the problem. So we use that EN1752 transmitter. We send a signal to our alarm panel, and then we can report, we can make noise. So somebody comes and reacts to that situation. Another way we can protect and help our customers run their business and keep their merchandise safe is by monitoring things like jewelry cabinets and drug cabinets and ammunition storage, liquor cabinets, those kinds of things. In this case, this lady wants to look at a bracelet, right? She looks like she wants to see maybe that necklace that's hanging there. Well, what's really happening is she wants to lure the jewelry clerk over to show her the necklace. Well, her accomplice is taking stuff out of the drawer on the other side of the jewelry counter. What typically happens in these applications is somebody opens up the drawer to bring the little tray of all the necklaces over to show that lady, and they forgot to close the drawer behind them. So now that drawer is open and somebody can just reach in and take whatever they want. Well, you could put a transmitter on that door to detect if it's been opened or not. And it's okay to open it. They have to open it so that they can show this lady the necklaces, right? They can't leave it open. It's not supposed to be left open for more than a minute. Well, we can use that transmitter on the back of that drawer to detect if it's been open for longer than a minute or so. Again, we send that signal to the alarm system. Someone can come react to that and teach that jewelry clerk, hey, don't leave that drawer open because eventually somebody's going to be ripping us off. Controlling access within a facility, Bosch panels have a way to program different areas. So you can program different areas to be armed and disarmed by different people and at different times. And in a Bosch panel, you have a lot of flexibility here. So for example, in this mega store that we see, this picture of the mega store, if I'm the store manager and I come in and I disarm the system, maybe I want everything I can touch to disarm as soon as I walk in the door. So from that one keypad by the back door, I can control up to 32 different areas. I just enter my passcode, hit enter, and bam, everything disarms. But maybe I have areas that are higher security. Let's say it's not a mega store. Let's say it's a bank. and I have an area that's programmed to be the vault, and I'm the manager of the bank. When I come into the back of the bank, I don't want the vault to disarm when I'm at the back of the bank. I want the vault to disarm when I'm standing at the vault. So I can program the system so that the vault only disarms when I disarm from the keypad that's right there. I can disarm the entire system from one keypad. I can disarm each area individually for a keypad in each area, and anything in between with a Bosch panel. You have ultimate flexibility for that application. Another way we can protect high value merchandise and high value stock is by combining access control with our intrusion feature. And in this case, although this picture doesn't show it very well, imagine the cell phone store. And in the back of the cell phone store in the warehouse, they have a cage, and that's where they keep all the phones and the tablets and all the expensive stuff. And for some cell phone stores, the rule is nobody can go in that area unless a manager is on site. So that area is locked with an access control card, much like this one. You swipe your card, you get in. But if there's no manager on site, when you swipe your card, it won't let you in. How does it know how to do that? Well, it integrates with the alarm system. That area is armed, and only the manager can disarm it. So if I'm the manager and I come in and I swipe my card, that area disarms. And now your card will work. You can enter that area and sell a couple of cell phones, right? But if I'm not on site, you're not supposed to be in there. When you go to swipe your card to go in, it won't let you in because it knows that that area is disarmed. Or, I'm sorry, that area is armed. It's a very easy thing to set up with the Bosch panel because the access control is integrated right into the panel itself, and it knows that area is armed, and it knows you're not supposed to be there, so it won't open the door. That's a feature that's built in. One of the great advantages of Innovonics is, and it being a wireless platform, is that it's portable. And we can assign portable panic buttons to each person within a facility. You know, this shows a healthcare worker here activating their portable panic button. Again, those go directly into the alarm panel. They can be assigned as a point. They can be assigned to a person. You can activate a loud, a silent alert, and send the report to the monitoring center. You can even just send an email or a text. So maybe this isn't a panic button. Maybe this is just somebody saying, okay, I've entered, I'm here, I've entered a room, I've entered that room. They just press their button and it sends an email that says, okay, they're active, they're doing their job. With the Bosch panel, you can send an email or a text, or you can report to the monitoring center, whatever makes sense for your application. Another application for those portable panic buttons is for a school. And you can imagine, where we have maybe a need to trigger a lockdown in a school. Well, that panic button, so that if that teacher is carrying a panic button, she presses her panic button, that could activate a panic alarm, just like the one did for that nurse or that healthcare worker. But it could also trigger a lockdown. In a Bosch alarm panel, we could program that button to actually trigger what we call a custom function. And that custom function can set a list of events, into play that could lock all the doors, send a panic report, maybe play a special message over the PA system so that, they knew that they had a lockdown situation. We can also integrate that with access control and with video, so you could get video of the events, and you could get the ability to lock all the doors within the facility, even if they're not part of the intrusion system, if they're part of an access control system. Another feature with Bosch panels is the ability to use your smartphone, and not only to control the system, but also to receive messages. So we have a app called the Remote Security Control that allows you to arm and disarm your system from your smartphone. Lots of companies have these days, right? But we think about that typically as a residential feature. Well, it's actually more useful in a commercial setting when you have multiple buildings that you might be responsible for that you need to access from a remote location, whether it's a school district and you have multiple schools, or a business, you're operating multiple fast food restaurants. Well, our remote security control allows you to control multiple locations, multiple buildings from one app. And you just sign in, put in your passcode, and arm and disarm. We also have the ability for the control panels to send text or emails. So of course you're going to send alarms to the monitoring center because the whole idea of the security system is if something bad happens, we want somebody to come and help. So you're going to send urgent messages to the monitoring center, but you could also send them as a text, and you could send an email for maintenance events. Someone has armed the system, somebody has disarmed the system when they're supposed to. That's not an urgent message. They did what they were supposed to, but you'd still like a record of it, so you can send that as an email. Somebody left the back door open and it's open to the back alley. That's something you'd like somebody to respond to. You send that as a text, and you have the flexibility to do both. I mentioned earlier that Bosch panels have the ability to integrate with Bosch IP cameras. And what that allows us to do is have the camera as a sensor. So the camera can detect things like someone's blocked that fire door I showed you, or somebody's removed an item, a picture off the wall, or outdoor motion detection. Cameras are very good at outdoor motion detection because they can tell the difference between a person and a truck, and they can activate an alarm on a person, but ignore the truck if you want. That signal can be sent to the alarm panel, and now you can decide what to do with it, whether you want to send a report or just make some noise, whatever makes sense. And outdoor motion detection is really a particularly good feature for this in commercial applications because the camera can actually send multiple different alarms to the panel. So let's just say that camera in the picture is not looking over the dock where the truck is, it's looking over a fence line. When someone approaches the fence, the camera can actually detect that and activate a point on the panel that doesn't send an alarm, but it turns on the floodlights, or it turns on a message that says, hey, you've entered a secure area, get out of here. And maybe the person will be smart enough to run away. Well, when they jump the fence, it actually activates a second alarm on the same camera and a second input on the alarm panel. And now we activate, now this is a bigger deal. They're actually inside the fence now. We want to activate an alarm, maybe call the police, release the hounds, make some noise, whatever, to apprehend that person. And that's one camera with two different events. One camera can actually send 8 different events to the alarm panel and be reported and responded to in 8 different ways, which is pretty cool. The other thing we can do with this integration between our cameras and our intrusion panels is we can control the camera and tell it to do things. Send me a snapshot of what it looked like when somebody pressed that panic button. Send video of this alarm as verification to the central station. One neat use for this is the ability to control the camera and tell it what to do at certain times. So for example, if you think about any commercial facility, when the system's armed, nobody's supposed to be here, right? Very simple. I arm the system, I leave, nobody's supposed to be here. When it's disarmed, I'm a commercial facility, I want people to be here, right? That's the whole reason I'm in business. The alarm panel can tell the camera how to react. So if I'm a camera and when you're open, I'm supposed to be looking at your parking lot to make sure nobody's parked in the fire lane or driving too fast. But when you're closed, when you're armed, I'm supposed to be looking for people that are approaching your store because maybe they're thinking about breaking in, through your front window. I need to know which one you want me to do, so I need to know if it's armed or not. The alarm panel can send a signal to the camera that says, okay, I'm disarmed, so watch over the parking lot. When you arm the system, it can send a signal to the camera that says, I'm armed. So the camera knows, okay, if you're armed, I'm supposed to be looking for people loitering by the front of the store. And that's a control that goes over the network, very easy to program, very simple. It's a great feature. We can support up to 16 different cameras. It's a direct machine-to-machine connection, so there's no special software required, and those camera events, of course, can be reported by the panel. And speaking about integration, Bosch has the ability to integrate intrusion, access, and video into one system now. Of course, we have our B and G series intrusion panels. We have our new access management system, 3.0, which is a wide commercial-based access control system. And of course, we have our BVMS, which is our Bosch Video Management System, which supports our cameras. These three systems can be integrated so that you can control the whole system from your video management system. This allows you to see events. It allows events to pop up on one screen. You manage the entire system from one screen for arming and disarming, unlocking and locking doors, seeing video associated with intrusion or access events. And by using the access management system, you can program the user data for all of your users of the intrusion system and all of the users of your access control system from one head-end user interface. And it's all from Bosch, it's all from one manufacturer. And of course, it's compatible with the Innovonics platform. So I hope this gave you some ideas on how you can sell intrusion into commercial applications and how you can create more value for your customers that go beyond security, beyond just where, you know, the burglar broke in, the sirens went off, and we called the police. Other things that we can do to help add value to your customers. Thank you very much for your time today, and I'll be available for questions later.